Good morning, Bucknutters. Welcome into the Morning Five on Friday, September 12th, 2014. I am Dave Biddle, and I'm joined by Steve Hellwagon. Steve, I want to start the show talking about what are realistic expectations for Ohio State's football team the remainder of this season. Is it possible they will run the table from here and perhaps even make the inaugural four-team playoff? Yes, it's possible. Stranger things have happened. But I don't think that's a realistic expectation. I think a realistic expectation is that the Buckeyes will lose another game this season, but will win the Big Ten. So, including the Big Ten championship game, I'm saying 11-2 is a realistic expectation. I think that they can win the Big Ten, but I think there's going to be a roadblock along the way, maybe a team we're not even expecting. So my 13-game record, I'm going with 11-2 as a realistic expectation. What say thee, Steve?
Well, based on what we saw, if they're going to continue to make those same kind of mistakes, maybe not at that scale, but obviously you got to wonder about the consistency of this offense right now, the way that they played against Virginia Tech. Virginia Tech gave all of Ohio State's future opponents a blueprint with how to beat them, and yet you also have to have the personnel to pull that off. I'm going to say at least one more loss and maybe two, and if it's two, there's no way they can even make it to the Big Ten championship game. So I'm going to say 10-2, 9-3, something like that. And at this point, I just don't even I don't know. I mean, that one loss was so spectacular in its scale and scope that I don't know. There's a lot of questions surrounding this Ohio State team. They've got to be able to put it together. There's a lot of questions in my mind. I think you go one game at a time, beat Kent, take your week off, get ready to play Cincinnati, and then, all these teams in the Big Ten, I mean, you look at it, the ones on Ohio State's schedule, pretty much all of them are 2-0 to start the season. Michigan, obviously 1-1, but I think they got some tough games ahead of them, and they're going to have to play much more consistent than they did against Virginia Tech.
Yeah, that was a tough loss to swallow. The one thing that helped me get over that loss was the fact that Michigan lost 31-0. So you're thinking, it would have been pretty. Let's say Michigan would have stomped Notre Dame in South Bend, and you're thinking ahead to that game in the Horseshoe. Like, could Michigan come into Ohio Stadium and beat Ohio State? And now it's possible. But I look at it now. I think I'm very confident the Buckeyes are going to beat Michigan again. Urban Meyer's going to go 3-0. The only game being underdogs the rest of the way, of course, is at Michigan State. But I think they're going to beat Michigan State. I think they're going to lose to a team we're not expecting them to lose. I think Virginia Tech was a lot better than anybody thought, including myself. So I do think they're going to lose a game, but I bet they're going to go up there and beat Michigan State. I think they're going to be ready for that one, but I do think they're going to lose another game. But yeah, it was tough getting over that Virginia Tech loss. Nobody saw that coming. All right, switching gears. This is a rarity, Steve. On Thursday, you've been on top of this recruitment from the get. On Thursday, late last night, Mickey Mitchell, I'm watching NFL football. The last thing I expected to see was Mickey Mitchell recommits. But that's what happened. Mickey Mitchell recommitted to Thad Matta in the Ohio State basketball program last night. Mitchell decommitted just 3 weeks ago, Steve, and it's so rare to see a big-time recruit recommit to a program. The 6'7", 210-pound Mitchell is ranked as the number 16 small forward, the number 104 player overall in the country in the 2015 class per the 24/7 Sports Composite. Steve, what are your thoughts here?
Yeah, it is somewhat strange to see the way that this all played out. I think you have to understand, obviously there were a lot of dynamics at play here. I think there were some family issues that led Mitchell to decommit, and everybody obviously knows the story about his brother Mike, who was at Ohio State last year for football and then transferred out to Texas Tech, and maybe there were some thoughts there that Mickey would end up somewhere closer to home at Texas Tech or somewhere else. But I think it was Ohio State all the way, for Mickey Mitchell, and I just think that he was bowing to some family issues or some pressure there to decommit. Made his official visit to Ohio State this past weekend with his buddy Austin Grandstaff, and it's weird. Ohio State is going to go 0 for 3 on the 3 top guys in Ohio with Carlton Bragg, Luke Kennard. Luke Kennard headed to Duke. Luke headed to Duke, and then obviously Ace Ahmad who's going to go to West Virginia and play for the Huggy Bears. So, they needed to get Mitchell back into the fold, and that's exactly what they did. You just wonder if the Ahmad commitment to West Virginia caused Thad Matta to make the phone call to Mitchell and say, hey, we need you back in here. And he did, by all accounts, have a great visit to Ohio State this past weekend. It was never a case, I don't feel, that another school made a play for Mickey Mitchell. I just think that it was a family situation, and hopefully that's all resolved, and they can get his signature on the letter of intent in November and be done with it. But, yeah, it's a great class for Ohio State, even without Kennard, Bragg, and Ahmad.
Yeah, I love Daniel Giddens being in the class. I love A.J. Harris from Dayton Dunbar. I love Austin Grandstaff. Those three guys, I was thinking, well, even without Mitchell, even with the guys in state like Bragg and Issa Ahmad that the Buckeyes lost, at least be a pretty good three-man class. I'm sure they'll do it. And then getting Mitchell back in there is nice. That makes it a four-man class, and I'm sure Thad's going to try and fill it out with a power forward. But even if not, this is an excellent 2015 class, ranked third best in the country. So good job by Thad Matta and his staff. Hopefully they can close it out with one more. To let the listeners know what's going to be on the site today, Bill Kurlick has his recruiting buzz on the site right now. That includes an update on A.J. Alexander, who will announce his decision tonight. We'll have the Daily Boarding House posted around noon with items on Cardale Jones, Matty Mock, and more. Bill Kurlick's recruiting buzz and the house are for subscribers only, so if you're not a subscriber, try our 30-day free trial. Steve and I will be covering the Kent State game tomorrow. Steve will have his 10 pressing questions in the morning. Steve will have the game story. I will have a What We Learned column after the game. And so keep it locked to Bucknuts all weekend. Thanks to Steve Hellwagon. Thanks to all the listeners out there. Take it away, best damn band in the land.